I'm Joe Mount with Sales from Tabernus. Today we're going to talk about Enterprise Erase WAN. WAN is our wide area network product. It is really best suited for internal customer erasure. Many folks have on-site and other tools, but Enterprise Erase WAN really tackles how to erase devices such as computer laptops and servers within your internal network in a controlled manner. Before we get started, I want to explain a little bit about Tabernus Solutions. Tabernus has been around for 10 years. Primarily, we've been a software company. However, we provided various hardware solutions for customers as well. Our focus has been providing software to successfully eradicate data from storage devices. Simply said, we erase the hard drive information. We can do it from individual drives, computers, server, mid-range, or even arrays in data centers. So we have a lot of experience and been doing that for many years, and our products really range in different deployment methods to meet that need. Great. Let's talk a little bit about Enterprise Erase WAN. It enables from a centralized location for a system admin or others to erase client computers across a company network. Tabernus host sits on a static IP and can always be found by targets that want to be erased. The system admin has control over the host and can direct erasures through virtual private networks or pushing out ISOs or other methods of kicking off erasures. And all information is really centralized and gathered in an SQL database provided in the product by Tabernus. So it's a great way to centralize data erasure. It can be segmented by region or segmented by a centralized person with a global outreach. One of the key benefits is the centralized records. So Tabernus, every time an activity takes place, such as an erasure event, that information generates a record or a log file. We call it a data erasure record. That log file has a pass-fail and collects all sorts of asset information. For instance, if we erased a laptop, we would be able to tell you it's an HP laptop, what model, what CPU, what memory, and a whole host of other information, as well as any user input information during that process. We, of course, will capture information about the hard drive and tell you what method of erasure, etc. We also provide a method to look at this data in the SQL database for users that aren't SQL friendly. We provide a standard internet browser to accomplish this, and a system admin or any really admin layman can access this information and generate the reports they need. Compliance is key with data security. It's important to get clean reports and when you want them, any way you can. Let's dive a little bit deeper into Enterprise Erase WAN. There's really two basic components. There's an actual image that's used to erase the client, and that it would be when you are ready to retire a device or erase one and put it back into reissue. And that really works and tells the device to erase itself. But before that kicks off, there is a master server or a WAN server. It installs on your network and sits there as a static IP address. It can be a dedicated server, or it may operate as a static IP in a VM world, virtual server as well. The bottom line is, with that static IP mechanism, whatever client gets erased on the wide area network, it will always find its licensing from the Tabernus static IP server, as well as always store its record with the static IP server. There's two primary deployment methods with Enterprise Erase WAN. It depends on the customer and the usage. One deployment is at location, the user can elect to erase their client at that point of use location. And that's easiest to deploy and maybe most common. The second method is a system admin push. So many system admin has tools to update software and security mechanisms through executable files, but we provide the system admin with an ISO image file. And with tools that commonly system admins have, they can target the computers that they want to erase on their network and push that ISO and boot that ISO. This works well for servers, desktops, and laptops. And this can be done a number of ways. It can be done on subnets, or it can be targeted in any fashion that the corporate tool box allows. Let's take a little bit deeper dive in these two methods. So, very simple. A corporate user, wants to erase their system machine, and will have certain permissions, and they'll have access to download a specific WAN ISO image, and they locally boot that through a USB or CD. Now, they have to have the correct credentials, but once set in place, they will take a license, will be taken from the Tabernus server, and when the erasure is complete, you will see that record being stored on the Tabernus server. Let's take a look at what goes on at the client level. At the client level, we can see a lot going on. This ISO image has been, for instance, an activity has taken place where it has booted, and you can see the information of the system here. This is representing the drive. The user simply selects the drive, hits the Enterprise Erase hard drive button, and the process will force the user to select the method of erasure. Many of these selections that I'm showing you today can be automated in the process, but I'm showing you a lot of activity to give you a good idea. There's also opportunity to enter employee asset information or identification information in the process that'll all be saved. But this is the actual GUI, and this can be scripted or it can provide in GUI form at the client or point of use system. There's other tools on here to do smart test and other mechanisms. In many cases, folks can script this in on the software side on Tabernus. You can see you have a progress bar telling you when things are complete. This tells you clear information about how long it takes. In many cases, a 1 terabyte drive might take many, many hours, or a 300 gigabyte might take 3 hours, depending on the type of erasure and size. So the process is completed, and a report is getting sent back to the Tabernus server. And you can see a clear green here saying that it successfully passed on the client side. Now let's take a look at option 2. Option 2 is the method where simply the system admin has control of the client image and can push the client image to the select clients at his discretion, his or her discretion. The same process ensues. Before the client kicks off, it needs to see the static IP server, which with it will grab a license to allow it to start and actually store and collect the report. In many cases, what goes on the server side doesn't need to be seen by the system admin, but I'll show you an example of what takes place. Here you see on the enterprise server side an IP address that represents the client. You can scroll all the way through and you'll have a status bar similar to the client. If you expand the IP address, you'll see that there are other drives. And there's one drive, and we have cleverly put a 1 gig drive assignment to it. Same process, you can erase from the server side. You simply select the drive, hit the erase button, and it will prompt you for a data erasure standard, like a DoD or a CSG. Once that's started, the process will take place. So what's happening here is we're on the static IP server of Enterprise Erasure WAN by Tabernus, and we've launched an erasure through the network WAN on that client. Wonderful. So you can see the progress bar from here, and it's 86%, and this is going to continue to process. Of course, this is a demonstration, so we speeded up some activity, but it's very valuable. And there are other methods. You can remove systems, you can log an asset, you can view the sectors of the drive remotely. There's many buttons that you can adjust here and features that we can add or automate in the process. let's take a look and see if we've completed the process. You can see in our example here that our virtual example of our software solution that it's turned green, and that's to signify that it's erasure. So the server is getting its information from the client, and it checks in every so often, a couple seconds, to determine what's being taking place. And now you have a clear complete. Once the system is completed, it generates a report, and that's very important. And the reports are always stored in an SQL database inside the operating system. Tabernus has a tool to view the reports in many different ways through a web browser. However, we also have a mechanism to do automated reports, which when we click on the review logs report, you'll have an asset folder and a CSV folder. So admins already get generated reports, and they're generated by day. So let's take a look at some of these reports. So if we expand these reports, we're going to see that you get a very concise piece of information where you can actually have an employee enter information and a date logged, a unique report ID, and all the information that you would expect from a system information. Additionally, down here is the hard drive information of the model, serial number, size, method of erasure, and pass. So this is a sample hard drive, and there's also other bells and whistles where you can have signature page and other documents. So here's a permanent docket, a permanent record of that erasure for compliance purposes that would meet your needs or your customer needs in case you're providing that service. So I think we've talked a lot of different ways enterprise erase WAN can be a benefit to internal erasures on a corporate network. It certainly prevents folks from having to ship material back in or transport it or touch it. So there's large savings right there. And system admins are already in place to perform all sorts of duties and functions. Adding a Tabernus enterprise erase WAN function to erase is just an additional duty that can be easily intertwined into the activities of a company. Tabernus has representation in North America and UK, and now Central Europe and South Africa. I encourage you to reach out to us if you have any more additional questions. Thank you for your time today.